My father-in-law smiled across the cafe table and told me I could never afford a lawyer powerful enough to fight his son. I met his eyes and said, "You're right." Victor Hale mistook my calm for surrender. He had spent 18 years mistaking silence for weakness. I was Major Natalie Cross, United States Army, though Victor preferred introducing me as Evan's wife. He knew I came from a quiet family, but he never asked questions. That suited me. I had learned in uniform that information was valuable, and arrogant people usually volunteered more when they believed you had none. My marriage had once been real. Evan drove through a snowstorm to attend my officer graduation. He cried when I returned from deployment, but after joining his father's logistics empire, he became polished, distant, and hungry for Victor's approval. Then came the perfume on his collar, the hidden phone, and a message meant for someone named Tessa. I discovered worse 3 weeks later. Inside Evan's desk was a drafted divorce petition claiming our house, savings, and vehicles belonged to Hale Freight. I would receive temporary support, and nothing more. Victor invited me to coffee 2 days afterward. He listed everything I would lose, then leaned closer. "My attorneys will bury anyone you hire." "You're right," I said. That night, alone in my car, I called the one person the Hales had never bothered learning about. My brother, Marcus Cross, answered immediately. "Took you long enough," he said. Marcus was not merely an attorney. He was the attorney corporations hired when fraud threatened to destroy them. He had won cases newspapers called impossible. But to me, he was still the boy who walked me to school and slept beside my hospital chair when our mother was dying. I told him everything. "Sign nothing else," he said. "And don't tell them who I am." For 4 weeks, Victor celebrated. He told relatives I was representing myself. Evan hired the state's most expensive family law firm. Tessa smiled at me in a grocery store and said she hoped I found decent help. I only replied, "I'm not alone." For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face, and I carried that moment home. On the morning of the hearing, I entered the courtroom by myself. Victor's smile widened when he saw the empty chair beside me. "I warned you," he whispered. The judge entered. The clerk began reading the case. Then the courtroom door opened. Marcus walked down the aisle in a charcoal suit, placed his briefcase beside mine, and sat without looking at Victor. When the clerk announced his name, Evan's lawyers stiffened. One whispered, "That's Marcus Cross." Victor's face emptied. Marcus began with the house. Joint bank records proved I had paid more than $60,000 toward the mortgage. Then came investment transfers routed through shell companies days before Evan filed for divorce. Finally, Marcus displayed corporate card statements showing $90,000 spent on Tessa's apartment, car, jewelry, and vacation, all labeled client relations. The judge stared at Evan. "Interesting client," she said. Victor stopped smiling completely when Marcus introduced text messages. "Move the money before Natalie gets curious. She trusts Evan. Use that." I felt the words strike me, but I did not look away. After lunch, Marcus called Gerald Price, Hale Freight's former accountant. Gerald testified that Victor ordered him to disguise personal transfers as operating expenses. He had refused, resigned, and preserved copies of every instruction. Evan's attorneys attacked his motives. Gerald calmly produced dated emails, signed authorizations, and internal ledgers. Victor leaned toward Evan and hissed, "You said this was clean." "You told me to do it," Evan snapped. Their empire cracked in a whisper. The judge ruled before sunset. She declared the concealed account's marital property, awarded me the house, ordered equal division of the remaining assets, and required Evan to pay my legal fees. She also referred the financial records for investigation. Outside the courthouse, Victor caught us on the steps. "Why didn't you tell me who he was?" he demanded. I thought of every dinner where he mocked my family, every insult I swallowed, every year I made myself smaller to keep peace. "You were right," I said. "I couldn't afford a lawyer like Marcus." Victor frowned. I didn't need to. Marcus placed a hand on my shoulder. "She's my sister," he said. "Family doesn't invoice family." Victor stared at us, suddenly old and ordinary. Evan stood behind him, unable to meet my eyes. I walked away with Marcus beneath a pale autumn sky. Cars passed, people hurried home, nothing outside that courthouse looked different, yet everything inside me had changed. For 18 years, I had believed endurance meant staying quiet enough to survive. That day taught me something better. Silence can protect you, but it should never erase you. I had not won because my brother was famous, or because Victor was careless, or because Evan underestimated me. I won because I finally stopped shrinking for people who needed me small, and once I stood at my full height, their power disappeared.